Hey everybody, and welcome to Godless Weekly number 9 for May 25th, 2021.
This is Series Week.
I'm not going to be doing an episode next week because I'm going to get wasted to make up for all the holidays that I missed over the past year. I've been talking a lot about these series and bringing them to Godless and bringing them in as exclusives. We've got several authors doing this. We've got several authors participating in this. But I wanted to tell you guys an example of how this kind of works and how it kind of works organically, and it can work for you. So about 2 weeks ago, author John Baltisberger posted this thing on one of the horror groups that said, you know, I'm going to the Godless platform and so is Madness Heart Press, right? He said something about like, get ready to squirm. And I responded, squirm they will, comma, JB, meaning John Baltisberger. Jared Barbie, the owner of Death's Head Press, responded. He goes, did someone say JB? Baltisberger said, I don't like the name JB, give that to Jared. I'll be like J Money or something like that. And I responded, your new nickname is Stabburger, with playing with the name Baltisberger in horror. And then this thing was born from this social post. And he pretty much reached out to me immediately on Messenger and said, why don't we come up with an idea for a series that is this really dumb, hyper-violent superhero series? And that was the birth of this new thing that we're launching and announcing this week called the Godless League. The thought process behind it was, if it takes you more than 5 minutes to come up with an origin and a character name, we don't want it. You don't belong in the Godless League. Take that shit somewhere else, man. So we developed this further, and then John came up with his character, whose name is John Stabburger, who's like this guy who just goes and stabs Nazis. That's the entire plot, essentially, of these stories. I came up with a character whose name is John Slaughterdozer. So he's kind of like The Thing, but he's made out of concrete. And he just goes into construction sites and kills different construction workers for like no real reason. This all happened in about 3 hours. So the next day, I was talking to John, and still recovering because I was laughing so hard that my ribs killed because this project was so inane and bizarro and freaky and hilarious and meant for Godless, right? So I said, we need another member to this team, and I kind of looked to like, my right-hand girl, Lucy Lightner. I've been pronouncing her name wrong, by the way. Bird. And I said, okay, 5 minutes, think like a 9-year-old, and come up with a really dumb superhero name and origin. And I told her about like our heroes and what they do. And I said, come up with something similar to this, but make it like in your own voice and from your own city. And so she came up with this character named Lush Butcher. So her character just goes out and kills drunks. And so John and I were talking about this. And I was talking about it with Lucy too. It's like, this is like the most organically indie horror thing ever that we could think of, right? It was generated 100% on social media by a bunch of people who were just being creative at the same time, coming up with something that was so stupid that we thought it was funny. And we, immediately knew that this is something that we wanted to pursue. So we turned it into a monthly series, and this monthly series starts on July 1st with the first issue of The Crimes and Passions of John Stabburger. By collaborating with other authors in the scene, you can come up with ideas like this, and we can push these out on Godless as monthly series. And so I think series are what are really driving the platform right now. And by the way, you should know this now. My character, John Slaughterdozer, he's going to be known as the Doze. Get used to that. You're going to be saying it for sure. His like call to arms is
concrete.
First new series that I wanted to talk about today that just launched last Saturday is the new Redband series by Simon McHardy. Essentially, this is his shorty series. They sell it for 50 cents a pop, and it's a short story that's almost like a limerick that kind of comes from his world. Speaking of his world, he also has a series that you guys are all familiar with called the Tasmanians, which are these stories like Gob and Knob and Moonface, and Mother Maggot kind of fits in there, and Pitbull. Simon's been working on this Redband thing for a while, and I think it's going to be a real big hit because it follows the the sensibility of what we're doing with these series. We're pushing them out cheap, like 50 cents, short, like under 50 pages, and immediate. So they want it immediately, right? So those are 3 things to keep in mind if you're developing a series. Our featured author this week is Buda. He is kind of like the king of these series, and he just released 2 of them last week on Godless. The first of them is the Debt Collector series, which are like these super violent kind of John Wicky type stories. The second one is Son of Earp, which are splatter kind of supernatural westerns. If you're not familiar with Chuck's work, check it out. He's dropping a lot of titles on Godless, and he's got a lot of titles that are all really good. So check him out and, you know, kind of get the feel for what he's doing with series. His stuff is longer, but he's making them priced to move on Godless, if you will. Our emerging author this week is Ryder Kinlay. She just released her first book on Godless last week. It is called Rehab. So Ryder is going to do this like Rehab series. It's not exclusive to Godless, but this book did premiere on Godless, which was a big deal to me. Ryder is a member of the Hype Horde, which she's totally helped us along, and she's helping everyone out there, and she's been evangelist for all your guys' work. So pay her back and pick up her book. I got it. It's good. Probably the most popular series on the Godless platform is Rayne Havok's Femmegore series. We just kind of branded it that way because she writes all these similarly themed stories, and we kind of wanted to put them into a brand so, you know, they'll be easy to find for people, and they'll be grouped together. You're familiar with her work. I really don't need to talk about how awesome I think Rayne is, because I always do talk about how awesome she was. So check these out. If you haven't yet, I'm sure you already have, but if you haven't yet, expect more. Expect more of these similarly themed books from the Femmegore series by Rayne Havok. What video about different series would be complete without talking about fucking scumbags burn in hell and the Hoopiverse? This is essentially the driver for why I even launched the Godless platform, was to release these short novelettes that came out for a cheap price that was too cheap for the Amazon threshold to sell. So you should check these out. Essentially, I was going to just do all these stories myself, and then, you know, as Godless started coming along, I started looking at the community and the environment and saying, this could be something bigger and better if I kind of enlist other people to come in and play in this universe. And it's been incredible. It's been so incredible. And really soon, as you guys know, Karen by Lucy Lightner is coming out, and it's just going to blow your mind. And it blows my mind. And it's such a compliment to read someone else playing in my universe and bettering me. And it's something I never really thought about, because I had never collaborated before this point. And now that I'm doing it, I'm like, fuck, this is all I want to do. I think I'm hopefully going to announce the final scumbag for the season finale on December 15th. I will probably announce that by Saturday. Another series that has become exclusive to Godless since launch is Kevin Sweeney's 7/6 Sin series. You should check these out. I didn't have to group these in to a series, and they weren't meant to come out as a series exclusive to Godless. That just kind of happened by default because Kevin Sweeney's first book in that series, which is The Lusty, got banned from Amazon, as we all know, for the bloody banana cover for whatever reason. But yeah, man, you should really check these out. Sweeney is a frickin' pro, man, and everybody loves him. Another different series approach is the approach that Regina Watts took. Is she took some stories from her popular Dottie series, and she made them after dark. And so she started releasing them a few weeks ago on Godless as after dark, which means they're, you know, too hot for TV or too hot for Amazon. And you should check these out. I know there's going to be several more coming, and we all can't wait. Yet another approach to doing series on Godless comes from our boy Armandellas. He started releasing these novellas that I am just dubbing right now Armandellas, and he's taking this work that he's never released before, whether it's too hardcore or too extreme or whatever reason, and he's putting them on Godless as the exclusives. So when he first brought them to me, they had different covers, and I said, can I take a pass at this and turn it into kind of a branded series so everyone will know that these kind of fit together? He let me do that, and I appreciate it. and now he's got a series of original content on Godless. And yet another approach to doing a series on Godless, I wanted to point out J. Manfred Weichsel's Tales to Make You Vomit. It's not an exclusive series to Godless, but he released the first 2 of these, and we're hoping that he will window the 3rd one on Godless and give it to us as an exclusive for a little bit. It's like this really EC Comics-y feel from the outside, but when you get into it, you realize that he's this great satirist who writes this really freaking extreme shit, and it's awesome. And finally, the big announcement at the top of the video was that the Godless League is coming out starting July 1st. This is yet another entirely new approach to doing indie horror and doing indie fiction, and really kind of banging people over the head with something so unique, kind of like fucking scumbags, that they can't really turn away from it. I released like teaser listings for each of the stories, but that's not really doing this justice. We're getting these covers made that are going to show our heroes and all the craziness of the shit that we came up with when we developed these for 5 minutes. Everything that we are doing with this is going against the grain of everything else out there, and not only kind of like pissing in the face of superheroes, because that's been done a fucking million times, right? You got The Boys and like all these other things like that, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do something that was completely fucking tone deaf and ridiculous, and absolutely aimed at a horror audience rather than a superhero or comic book fan audience. We wanted it to come off as, okay, there's no real fucking story here, but it doesn't really fucking matter because I'm only here to see, a character like Slaughterdozer on a construction site fucking stapling people's faces to a wall with a staple gun. So that's what this is about. This is really, really hyper-kinetic gore. And we're putting it into the guise of superheroes because we came up with this idea to make something fucking unique. Unique. That's why I think that these series in general are working and really driving the platform. Welcome to the 4th edition of Drew's Conclusions. Yes, we have made it to 4 without anyone totally hating me or thinking I'm a fucking pompous jerk. I kind of wanted to talk about this collections and series and different ways to kind of help boost your IP. We've noticed that since Simon I'm recording this on Sunday, so Simon just released Billy Panty Sniffer, which is his first story in his Redband series. He released that yesterday, and I'm noticing something today, is that people are coming for that 50-cent price tag, but they're leaving in their carts with Simon's other work. Like I think Moonface or Pitbull just took the lead over The Poser on the bestseller wall. So you have to think about that. And I know it's a hard sell to get you to do something that you might think is beneath you. That might not be the right word, but I don't care. Something you don't really want to do is create a short series that is really cheap and you're most likely not going to make a lot of money off of, right? Or if any. But you got to consider this from the angle of the platform and what we're doing and how we're trying to kind of boost indie presence and make it something different. And I kind of see Godless more as an over-the-top streaming network than I do a book e-commerce site. I think that if my competition was really out there, it would be more along the lines of Amazon, their streaming platform for TV and films and original content, rather than Amazon's e-commerce book sales. So think about that when you try to come up with ideas. I'm not telling you guys to go out and come up with an idea and pitch it to me, because I'm not even gonna pay attention to any pitches that are sent to me. If it's an unsolicited submission, it's gonna go in my junk, right? You should never do that anyway. You should never send your fucking original IP and ideas to anyone, not even to really read, until you've released it. But going further on this, I don't want you guys to submit shit to me. If you have a pitch in mind, just fucking write it. Get with your team or do it yourself and just write it and then give it to me. We will produce and we will release and we will distribute your work and your idea and your series. and we will, give it a green light immediately. It's not like that we're a pitch studio. Keep that in mind when you go into this kind of developing a series for yourself. I kind of wanted to do a direct call out to someone who I think that this would be a great idea for them, and that is the Written in Red team, which is Danny Volpe and Aaron Beauregard and Roland Bursey and Carver Pike. I think it would be awesome if you guys did a short series that you guys exchanged every month. So you would only have to write 3 a month between the 4 of, or 3 a year between the 4 of you, and do something branded around Written in Red. You know what I mean? Do different stories themed around the color red, and then sell them for 50 cents. And then when people come to buy those, they're going to look at your other work, and they're going to love your work if they read these short stories and say, fuck, I want to read more by this guy, right? I want to get more involved with this author. I want to help this dude out because he's bitching. That's what you got to, that's the way you got to think about this. So it's not like I'm going to go waste my fucking time and write this dopey fucking short story. No, it's about bringing attention to your work as a whole, right? The reason that I've been staggering monthly and releasing the fucking Scumbags books and giving them away for free, the previous issues away for free when the new one comes out, is because I want to amp up the audience and get them ready and understanding and into the world. So when like Lucy's drops on June 15th, they're going to gravitate towards it. And I will most likely give them away for free then too. You want people to be involved in your universe, and you want people to be involved in your series. It's kind of the trick of series narrative and things that go from one to another or all in the same universe. I mean, I'm not saying that's the same thing with Rayne, or it's not the same thing with Simon and his Tasmanians or anything like that. But if you are going to do something like that, make a narrative series for people to follow that kind of follows this comic book model, that you should think about how it's gonna pay off for you in the long run, right? Sure, you're not going to make a bunch of money off a 50-cent short story. That's not the point, man. The point is getting your name out and showing people who you are, and showing people that you got the chops to do something like this, right? To play in a universe, to fuck around, to get busy, and then use that as a freaking advertisement. No one's telling you to stop making long form stories or long novellas or novels or anything like that. These are, for all intents and purposes, advertisements for you and for your brand. I since launch, I've really been standing on the fucking Scumbag series and the Hoop series, because it's getting people to know who I am, right? I mean, I'll give away like Knuckle Supper for free with these releases, or the Knuckle Supper audiobook, which, that's been free for 3 years on YouTube. But that's not the point. The point is introducing them to me as an author. And I'm sure a lot of the other authors in the fucking Scumbag series are going to do the same. They're probably going to release some of their work for free for 2 days or 1 day or whatever. And it's not to take money out of their pocket or fuck up their system or how they're selling books. It's to introduce you to the audience and to build your audience, man. It's such a huge thing to do. And if you get people in the door, then you get more people in the door, and more and more and more, and it spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads, just like we've been doing with all this stuff with the Hype Horde. It's like we want to spread the message of what Godless is about. People are learning what it's about and figuring out what it's about. I wrote this long-winded freaking story about that. This is about like me going into an independent record store as a kid and trying to break new punk bands with my friends. It seems like really fucking lame, but that's how I want this audience to feel when they come to Godless, man. I want them to come here and check out your work and say, I've never heard of this dude, Maybe my friends haven't either. I'm gonna be the first one to fucking read this guy and push it out, or girl, or whomever, I think that you have to think that way. And because of the way that this platform is different, and the way that the indie horror consumer is evolving, you have to come up with something that really kind of grabs them and pulls them in and gets to know who you are. It's like introducing yourself. And since, I kind of think that the anthology model is great, and a lot of this is based on that anthology model, but that doesn't really gel with the platform. As you can see, people and publishers releasing short story collections and anthologies aren't doing great because they're more expensive. They are, not in a universe that people can get into. I was a big comic book fan as a kid. I loved being in these universes, you know what I mean? That's what drew me in. I felt attached to, the John Byrnes and the Chris Claremonts of the world because I was a big fucking X-Men fan and a big Alpha Flight fan. And so, it's like, you gotta pull them in, man. You gotta get them coming back monthly for more of you and your friends and your fucking horror clique and all that shit. And bring them back, man. That is the purpose of the series. And that's why these series are successful. And that's why they are performing on the platform. Think about that, man. You know what I'm saying? Before I sign out, I wanted to do a make good of a make good that I did last week. See, last week I did a make good to Erie River Publishing because I didn't put them in the Women's Week video. And last week when I did that make good, I called them Erie River Press, which is incorrect. So now, going forward, every time I sign out a video, I'm going to give love to Michelle River and Erie River Publishing. So, Michelle, have a good night. We love you, we love your work, and we love your series. We love these little short story mini series that you guys release. Check those out. Some of them are on Godless. That's what this is all about.
Concrete.
That's my character, the Doze. That's his call to arms. Oh man, I can't wait for you guys to read this trash. It's so fucked up. I'm sure even Simon's gonna be like, dude, this is so fucking stupid. But it's not, because it's smart. We're doing something unique. That's what Godless is for. It's being fucking indie.